First, before I get off into the video, I spelled it wrong because I was too lazy to go and try to put it in there and get the phone to correct it. I can, but I'm just gonna go ahead. But I just want that first and foremost, I misspelled it wrong. I know that's not right. I got the first three word letters right. Four. It's really four. The IDONOTLIKE is right, but the last two property managers, I know I got that wrong. So I'm putting it there for a reason. I'm just letting y'all know. Like, what the hell is that? So just in case anybody look at that and like, what the hell is that? What is he? Or whatever. That's what I was trying to spell, but right now I just want to go ahead and get this off my chest because I don't want to forget nothing that I want to talk about. The video is entitled, I Do Not Like Property Managers or Landlords, but I'm just going to, I do not like property managers. Now, am I saying all of them? No, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm talking about the majority of the motherfuckers. You got, now that is spelled wrong. The first four is spelled right. The last two property managers, I know that's wrong. So overlook that, y'all. Overlook that the last two property managers. I know it's misspelled wrong, so I don't mind admit the error. I did it on purpose because I couldn't spell it, so I just put it in there like that. All right. Yeah, I do not like property managers. That's the title of the video. I do not like property managers. My reason for saying that is that that's why I hate doing the majority of these businesses. Esau hires women. Women. I don't like well, some with men too. Certain ones just depends. I don't like doing business with too many people because it's not a fair turn. Even though I know much about business, I don't know because I never, you know what I'm saying? Because my mother, she took care of most of the real personal business like light bill, rent, all this stuff. She took care of everything. I didn't mess with none of that. But since she had the stroke and everything, things took a turn and it made a difference. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean by that. Sometimes when you have, if you know what I'm talking about, if you can relate to it, you understand what I'm saying. If you had a family member that had been in a situation like that, or maybe in another way, they probably just got down sick. It couldn't have been no stroke or nothing. Like my mother, she had a severe stroke. It affected her to the point of her speech, her walking, and her talking. It affected all that, but it did not affect her ability is to be able to have strong alert what's around her. She's still easy to wake up. I don't care how hard she sleep. She can wake up and you cannot fool her. She still can pick up good vibes and bad vibes. And I find that to be amazing to say she had a severe stroke. Yes. Her alert is still absolutely 100% the same. Yes, it is. I don't care how hard she sleep. You and then you more than likely, the most part, she's easy to wake up, and I like that part about it. The first stroke she had it in 2000, and I think it was four, and I think it was like 2005. She had that stroke. Did the first stroke, and I'm gonna get off into the topic of the property manager. I just want to just do this long introduction, not too long, not too long, but when our mother had this stroke, the only thing it left her with was a limp. That's it. She did not lose her ability to think, take care of business, walk, talk. She still had that strong. She still can do whatever. And she would give the testimony all the time, and she would tell people she had a stroke. and they would look at her like they seen a ghost. Like they'd be like, "Girl, Miss," they say, "Ma, you don't look like you had no stroke, girl." She said, "Well, it's a miracle from God." She said even the doctors was amazed. They walked into the room. They looked at her and they just stared at her. She used to give the testimony all the time. And she was just stood there and she looked. She said they were just staring at her. And it scared her, she said. And she didn't know why they were staring at her like the way that they did. And when they finally spoke, they said, "Ma'am, according to the test results, what we don't understand," they said, "you were supposed to be in a vegetable state, but according to the test results, you suffered a stroke 6 or 7 days before you even had the stroke. But what we don't understand, this is what she used to tell testimony all the time. What we don't understand, how is it a woman who had a stroke 6 or 7 days ago and still able to walk and talk and do all of that?" And my mom looked at him and she said, "Well, that no," they said, "it must be a miracle from God." My mother said, "Yes, I love the Lord and I fear the Lord and I know, oh yes." I sang all the time. I'd be listening to, she was just telling them her background. And they said, "Well, we know it was something because a woman able to walk into, do you know, ma'am," they told her, like, "Do you know you were supposed to be in a vegetable state, not being able to do nothing?" It didn't still didn't affect after she had the stroke. It didn't affect her ability to walk, talk, do none of this stuff. They said that she was supposed to be looking like a vegetable. My mother said, "Well, it's just that's a miracle from God." Yeah, she used to tell testimony all the time. But this second stroke, when it got her, it affected her ability to walk and talk. My mother actually dreamed about. She actually saw this coming. About 6 years ago, before it happened, she used to tell me all the time. She'd say, "You know, I had a dream that you and I was. I'm just gonna leave it like that. You was I was taking care of a family member. They couldn't do nothing for themselves or something like that. And it was like we had to step in and take care of this person." I said, "Really?" "Yeah, yeah." And come to find out, it was this situation because God deals with her now. I say God deals with her, reveal to her things before it happens. You know what I'm saying? And what else I want to say? I'm gonna get off into the topic. I asked God this last stroke that she had. I mean, this stroke here, and what she went through. I had my moments where it breaks me down, had me hurting, crying, and shit like that. I can't lie. It does. It gets to me at times. I ain't gonna even lie. I never would have thought. I feel sometimes I feel like a 2 or 3 year old or a 5 year old just crying. 51-year old man crying about his family member. I never would have thought that this something this hard would have happened. And then I talked to the Most High and I asked him questions, because you're human. You're gonna ask you're gonna react to things because you're human. You realize you just in the flesh. You flesh, you know what I mean? And you're gonna be subjugated to because you're only human and that's understandable. What is the point of all this? You see what I'm saying? Or sometimes I find myself saying, we know that God sent trials and tribulation. If I'm God I wouldn't want a person to suffer like that. Even especially if I got the power to actually heal that person. That's how maybe I'm from the outside looking in, you know, and that's the way it is, I say. I did a long introduction. I did okay, let me get to this end. I do not like property managers. My reason that I don't like them, it's just like I don't have no real good combination with them at all. For one, most of them they're arrogant. I experienced this from a landlord too. My mother was renting from in Georgia, and it's like they got mixed personalities or something going off on you and just stuff for no reason. A lot of them don't like to fix stuff. A lot of them don't. Uh, hold on. Yeah. Um, they just arrogant people. And another thing I don't like when they say they go by, like, let's say, like, if you get in a place to rent, which I don't know much about business, but I have a general idea of how it works. They tell you they go by your income. To me, that makes no motherfucking sense. Then you got to provide all these motherfucking bank statements. I don't think a property managers, landlords should not, and when I mean should not, I don't think they should have your personal information showing everything that you spend. And I know Esau, the so-called white man, they got all this set up like that. Now you got to go out your way and renew a lease and sign up and get, they'll tell you check stub. We need about 2 or 3 check stubs from about 3 months ago. And you got to provide all that damn information. Now you got to go to the damn bank. And then sometime the bank, now sometime they'll be merciful enough not to charge you for a lot of this stuff. All this shit is set up by so-called white men, and they're using our people to do this. And now you got to go and get all these fucking four damn bank statements from about 4 months back. They want to know all of that. They don't need to know all your motherfucking information like that. That's too much motherfucking information to be revealed. That shit pisses me off when I think about that. They don't need to know what you got in your account. They don't need to know that type of information. And then nobody egging me on to say this here. This is my own idea. They should not. I don't care how many rules the government make. They have no motherfucking right, and the property managers and landlords have no right to your what that is member number. All of that is on them bank statements. They have your member number and all of that. You got to give all this shit to them. Now, when they check your shit and go back and do a recheck, even though you've been living in that motherfucker for um 5 years, you still got to go and provide all this motherfucking information and go and give them all this shit. You don't need to do all of that. They don't need to know what the fuck you eating. What the fuck they need to know all that for? The only thing that they need to fucking know is, do you have their rent? They don't need to have access to, okay, get 4 bank statements. Now we know how much you got in your bank. Now, since he got this much in the bank, since he got this much, now we gonna go up on the rent just a little bit. In the goddamn apartment that you live in, you know you've been living there for about 3 years, and it ain't even worth that. You see what I'm saying? It's like, how you gonna go up on the rent? These damn apartments ain't even worth that. Who in the fuck is doing doing organizing this fucking business? You see what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people is homeless, because their brother say, "Well, look, before I let anybody know my motherfucking business like that, I just get on the streets and leave all them leave the card shit alone." and not even be connected to just have a bank or whatever and not even get involved with living nowhere because you got to live and give these people all the information that they want. You got to it's like you they make their own rules and and just get and just tell you what they want. The only thing that let me tell you what the bank should do. What the bank should do is come up with an ideal and say, now, we not allowed is to give them any of your bank statements at all. That's to protect you, and that would make sense to me. The banks need to change that shit. Y'all, that whoever look, the head, I'm talking to the head. Y'all need to change that shit because this is what Esau, the so-called white man, is doing. They don't need to have access to your personal money resources like that. They just don't. That's only for you. And the person that lives in your household that you're close to is to know that. Not some random people you trying to get you a house and then they go by your income. Let me tell you, it's a trick to that shit. All you need to do, what the banks need to do is make separate accounts and say, look, we give them a separate member number. And this member number can tell when they rent come in the thing, when you paying a deposit, when you paying the rent itself and what that's going to cost, that's going to be in a total separate account from your personal bank money information. We gonna keep that. If you're gonna do that, what they should do is just say, well, we allow you to create one bank, personal bank for yourself, nobody but you and the banks. And that's what I said. The only person should know what you spend and how much you fucking spend and what you got in your bank is the people that works at the bank and that's in the bank business that works there. And you know what I'm saying, employees, those are the only people that should know, have access to your information because they got the they dealing with your resources and telling them how much is in there and how much is not in there and all that. Those are the only people that should have your personal information is the banks and the people that protects your income in them banks to keep frauds and stuff. Those are the only people that should know. Not no damn manager, not no motherfucking property manager asking you for all your damn bank statement. That's too much information. And by the time they give you an application to fill out, they done gave you a fucking book to fill out. Now you got to go through all that fucking paperwork trying to fill in how much you get in all the income. That look, they don't need to know all of that type of stuff. That's too much information to be revealed. Now, I know at some point, I'm gonna have to compromise and do something that I don't want to do. But by all means, I'm gonna try to nibble my way around it. You best believe it. Yeah, that's just you know what I'm saying. They'll try to tell you, well, it's just the way it is. Fuck you. That ain't the fucking way it's supposed to be. Talking that dumb ass shit. You know what I'm saying? That's dumb. They don't need to know what you got in your damn bank. The only people that need to know that, I'm gonna reiterate it, is the banks you deal with and the people that work there and know your banks that you're dealing with is the only people that should know how much you got in your bank. That business is not for nobody else to know. Yeah. Property managers and none of them people, they don't need to know none of that stuff. Hell no. Yeah. So I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk some more about this. And I do not like property managers. Yep. I don't. Those are some of the reasons. They very arrogant. If you have don't get no misunderstanding with them. some of them will call the law and stuff on you, and they gonna be on their side, especially when it comes to the woman and so on and so forth. Yeah. Let me hear him cut this off because I don't want to fall asleep and make this video look crazy. I'll be back with another one later on, y'all. All right. That's why we call the so-called white man the damn devil, because they is behind all of this here. And then they gonna tell us we free and all that. I'm gonna come back and do a video and break that down too and show you, prove to you that we're not free. I'm out.